again, and I know I said that my last video on this topic would be my final video, but um, I'm finding it hard to let this one go, and eventually I'm going to have to let this one go because the reality of the situation is we are where we are, and moving forward, we don't know where we're going to end up in regards to this Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua situation. But once again, I find myself having to address a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of unfair treatment, and a lot of just straight out bullshit. Because let's look at the situation. Universally, um, if you look at all the publications and you look at the majority of people out there who have an opinion on Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, for the most part, Anthony Joshua was looked at as the number one heavyweight in the world. Deontay Wilder is looked at as the number two heavyweight in the world. And at the time when Joseph Parker fought Anthony Joshua, um, most people thought he was either the third, fourth, or fifth best heavyweight in the world. So let's give him the respect of being thought of at that particular time as the third best heavyweight in the world. Now, it's been reported, again, now these purses aren't always accurate, especially in the United States where it's customary that the promoters release the guaranteed purses to the commissions. I believe in the UK, the British board does not require that, and the numbers that are released are usually just numbers we have to take at face value that are given by the promoters. So when you look at Anthony Joshua's purses, they're all over the place. For the Parker fight, it was reported that he got, $14 million, $13 million pound guaranteed. Some said 18, some said 20. And same thing with Parker. His purses were reported anywhere from 7 million pounds to 9 million pounds to 11 million pounds to 13 million pounds. But regardless of that, if you break it down in terms of percentages, Joseph Parker got 30% of the revenue. And it's unclear whether or not he was given a flat fee or if he was also given a back-end percentage of pay-per-view revenues. I can't confirm or deny that, and I'm not going to even try to, but it's unclear. Okay? So let's look at the situation. So you got Joseph Parker looked upon as the third or fourth best heavyweight in the world, getting 33% of the revenue against Anthony Joshua. And now when you flip the script and you look over at what's being offered to Deontay Wilder, initially a flat fee of $12.5 million, then it was up to $15 million. And Eddie Hearn had said that, you know what, Anthony Joshua could earn upwards of 35 to 40 million for a Deontay Wilder fight. And he also went as far as saying, okay, we turned down the 50 million from the United States, so we're basically leaving about 10 million on the table. So rough estimates, at the very least, being conservative, Anthony Joshua would at least make 40 million versus Deontay Wilder, and possibly more if you add in the back end money. So let's just say, in between 40 and 50 million. So if you do the math, how would that even be possible? In what world would an assistant manager make less than one of his workers? So think about that. The manager would make the most, the assistant manager would make the second most, and his assistant would make, the assistant to the assistant manager would make less than the assistant manager. In what world would the assistant manager's assistant make more than him? So in what world would number 3 or 4 ever make more than number 2? Okay? And also, Vladimir Klitschko, who wasn't even a champion at the time he fought Anthony Joshua, he was given a rematch clause. Okay? He was guaranteed a rematch clause whether he won or lost, without even being the champion. And Deontay Wilder was not guaranteed a rematch clause, win or lose. It was only guaranteed to Anthony Joshua if he won. So everyone wants to sit there and say, Deontay Wilder should just shut up and sign the contract. And it's so ironic because when we had said, why doesn't Anthony Joshua just accept the offer? And then everyone was like, well, why should he just accept the offer, and sign his life away? So why should Deontay Wilder just accept this deal and sign his life away? And it was said that, Hearn wanted to have a contract drawn up without the offer being accepted. Did Deontay Wilder get a contract before he accepted Hearn's offer? No, he had to accept the offer before he got the contract, which is usually how it works. What happens is a terms sheet gets sent over before to detail what the offer is, and then once the term sheet is accepted, the offer is accepted, then the contract comes, and that's how it always works. And Hearn's trying to lie and reinvent the wheel here and try to convince everyone that it doesn't work that way, when in his own practice in handling this situation, that's what happened when his offer to Deontay Wilder had to be accepted first before the contract was sent over. So that's what I'm saying. So if you look behind the numbers here, in what world would number 2 ever accept less than number 3? It just doesn't make sense. Why would Joseph Parker be given 3%? And David Higgins confirmed this, Joseph Parker's promoter, and the negotiations were hard fought on Joseph Parker's side, because initially they asked for 40% and they were denied. Then they asked for 35% and then they were denied. And both Eddie Hearn and David Higgins had said we got somewhere in between that, which is 32.5%, 33%. So let's round it up to 33%. So at the very least, Joseph Parker got 30% of the revenue, and we don't even know if he got back-end money, because it was not specified whether or not he got a flat fee or not. So why would Deontay Wilder, even if he's going to make more than Joseph Parker in the fight, the reason why he's going to make more than Joseph Parker in this fight is because Anthony Joshua is going to make more in this fight than he did versus Joseph Parker, because it's just a bigger fight. So you're comparing apples and oranges. But at the end of the day, if this fight went to purse bids, if Deontay Wilder was the mandatory challenger, and this fight went to purse bids, he would be guaranteed 30% anyways. So why, as the champion, would he take a worse deal than a mandatory challenger would take? Let's just subtract and take away the names. Okay, let's look at the situation. In what world, again, I repeat myself, would number 2 take less than number 3? And in what world would a champion take a worse deal than a mandatory challenger would have to take if it went to purse bids? So if Alexander Povetkin and Anthony Joshua go to purse bids, that would be another fighter getting a better deal than Deontay Wilder, who's not even a champion. So that's what you have to ask yourself. Look at the deal and look behind the numbers here and just look at the situation. I want to see this fight just as bad as you guys do. But if you were Deontay Wilder's manager and you were being offered a worse deal than a mandatory challenger would get, you're being offered a worse deal than the number 3 or 4 fighter in the division when your number 2 got, would you accept that? You have to look at it on the surface and at face value. In no world would that be acceptable. So it's quite clear and evident here that Eddie Hearn is intentionally putting forth offers that he knows are not up to standard, that are not fair, in order to delay this fight. They want to push this fight off as long as they can, okay? And they're hoping and praying right now that Dillian White beats Joseph Parker, so then they can turn around and make Anthony Joshua Dillian White, okay? You have to ask yourself again, why was a contract already drawn up with a date and a venue, okay? A date and a venue for Alexander Povetkin, and the contract that was sent to Deontay Wilder did not have a date and a venue, and basically had a bullshit rematch clause, because Eddie Hearn was telling everyone and their mother and their brother that, hey, this is going to be 2 fights. We'll fight the first one in the UK and the second one in the United States. He never said, yeah, we'll fight the first one in the UK, and if Deontay Wilder wins, then we'll fight the second one in the US. No. He was making it known to everyone that this was going to be 2 fights. Okay? And now, how could that be possible if there's only a one-way rematch clause involved? What if it was a close fight, okay, and Deontay Wilder lost by split decision, and the world thought, just like the Triple G situation, the world thought that Deontay Wilder won, but Anthony Joshua gets the decision. What if he gets robbed over? Also this part of the contract, from my understanding, was that Deontay Wilder's team could not have any say in the officials or the referee. So let's keep that in mind too. Okay. So again, going back to what I said before I changed topics. What if Deontay Wilder loses by split decision, and it was a fight that most people thought he won, and Anthony Joshua gets the decision, and then Anthony Joshua suffered a lot of damage in the fight, and basically, his team says we don't want to rematch this guy again. Let's push this off. He would not be obligated to rematch him even if the decision warranted such. Do you see what I'm saying? So no manager or advisor in the history of the sport who was worth their weight in gold would ever accept an offer that was like the one that was put forth to Deontay Wilder. Would Eddie Hearn, if Eddie Hearn was the promoter of Deontay Wilder and the shoe was on the other foot, do you think he would accept that offer? Absolutely not. So it's bullshit. In no world would this ever be acceptable. It just doesn't make sense. And I understand, why didn't Team Wilder just immediately say, this has to be done? Why did they put that, say we're going to send it back till Friday? I can't answer that. That seems a little bit odd. I'm going to be fair about it. I'm going to be fair about it. If that was the case and there was issues with the contract, should have been known right away. It should have been addressed right away. It should not have been put off till the end of the week. It should have been addressed immediately. And I'm not going to defend that. But at the end of the day, I'm also not going to defend the bullshit contracts that are being sent to Deontay Wilder. He's the WBC champion. He's the longest. He's the longest reigning heavyweight champion active today, right now. He's held his title longer than Anthony Joshua has held his. He has the WBC title, which is thought of as a very prestigious title. You can argue that Anthony Joshua has the four belts and Deontay Wilder only has one. I understand that. You can argue that Anthony Joshua has a better resume if you want. That's fair. That's fine. I'm not going to dispute. I'm not going to go back and forth about that. You can argue that he's the bigger name. Okay, I'm not going to argue about that. But one thing you can't argue is the fact that Deontay Wilder should take a worse deal than a mandatory challenger would take, or a worse deal than a fighter who was lesser than him took in Joseph Parker. Okay? Number 3 and number 4 heavyweight in the world, Deontay Wilder's number 2. You can't argue those 2 points. And if anyone tries to argue those 2 points, then you're not being objective. You're not being objective. I'm conceding the point that Team Wilder should have sent the contract back, or should have said that they were going to send the contract back before Friday. I'm conceding that point. But you have to concede the point that Deontay Wilder is worth more than what a mandatory challenger would get if the fight went to purse bids. Okay? I can't lay it out any more clearer than this. Again, there's gonna be Anthony Joshua fans who are gonna sit there and parrot the bullshit of Eddie Hearn, but let's look at it for what it is. Regardless of the fact if Anthony Joshua is a bigger name, regardless of the fact if he makes more money, no one can dispute the fact that Deontay Wilder is the second most popular heavyweight in the division, and no one can really dispute the fact. You can dispute the fact if you wanted to be fair, but it's pretty much universally accepted that Deontay Wilder, by 90% of the people out there, 95% of the people out there, is the number 2 heavyweight in the world. Some people think he's even number 1. So that's the thing. They're not even giving him the respect of someone just asked me, what percent would 15 million be? Well, again, do the math. If Anthony Joshua is gonna to 30, in between 28 and 30%. So if if a mandatory challenger is guaranteed 30% or more, and if Joseph Parker was guaranteed 33%, which was confirmed by David Higgins, then why would you offer Deontay Wilder? Why would you offer Deontay Wilder less than Joseph Parker, or less than a mandatory challenger would get? Why would you do that? You have to look at it like that. No one can refute those 2 points. You can't. Those 2 points are irrefutable. They are offering him a lesser deal than Joseph Parker got. And you can say, well, he's still going to get more than Joseph Parker. Yeah, but the only reason why is because the fight itself is going to generate more revenue. And that has to do with how big this fight is, and Deontay Wilder has something to do with that. And you can throw Mayweather's name out there all you want, but the same people who are accepting this from Anthony Joshua were calling Mayweather a diva when he was doing it. Just because this A-side, B-side bullshit. Okay, if you want to call Anthony Joshua the A-side, then treat Deontay Wilder like the B-side. Don't treat him like he's the Z-side, the bottom. You can't treat him like he's the bottom. You got to treat him as such. A man in his position should be treated. And that's not being done right now. Okay, so at the end of the day, it is what it is. All right, that's all I can say, man. Until next time, Bieber's out. Talk to you guys soon. Don't forget, join in today at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to the Ringside Reporter podcast. We're going to talk about this more. We're definitely going to talk about this more. And someone just said he is the Z side. Really? Come on, man. So if he's the Z side, then why after Anthony Joshua's next fight, either the first or second question is going to be, when are you going to fight Deontay Wilder? Cut the shit, people. Cut the shit, people. Both of these guys, great fighters need great opponents. And I don't give a fuck if Anthony Joshua is making Bill Gates money right now. People are still going to ask him, when are you going to fight Deontay Wilder next? No one can deny that. No one can deny that. All right? So it seems as though we're being manipulated here. All this is just, something that's going to hype the fight. I think both sides like the fact that we're going back and forth with each other. There's arguments and stuff, because that only creates a buzz for the fight. And probably that's what the goal is. Who knows? Who knows? And, people are saying Deontay Wilder asked for 50-50. Yeah, so Golovkin asked for 50-50. He knew he wasn't going to get 50-50. He ended up getting 45. So at the very least, if Deontay Wilder ends up walking away with 40% instead of 30, he still wins at the end of the day. So that's all part of the negotiation tactics. We know that. That's been done time and time again. You shoot for the moon, and hopefully on the way down you catch a few stars. I don't think Deontay Wilder really wants 50-50. Basically, he's asking for 50-50, knowing that he's not going to get it, but hoping he can get more than what the initial one was. Remember, guys, it started at 12.5. Now it's 15. Maybe it could be 15 plus, 40% of the back end. Bump this up a little bit. So, the fact of the matter is, this could all be part of the plan, but at the end of the day, you still have to look at it for what it is. You still can't look at bullshit and then accept it as being facts. And you can't listen to someone who's telling you things that just aren't true. You can't listen to someone who's contradicting himself. You can argue all day that you don't think Wilder's worth what he's asking for. You can argue all day that Joshua's a better fighter. You can argue all day that Joshua's the bigger name. He's the A side. You can do that, and there's not really much I can say on that on those fronts if that's what you believe. But you cannot change reality. You can't listen to Eddie Hearn say things that aren't true. You can't listen to Eddie Hearn make up rules. And I know I'm a nobody, but that doesn't mean that I can't voice my opinion, because I'm going to continue to voice my opinion just as others are. And there's enough people. It matters. All right. That's all I got for now. Until next time. Peace out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day, man.